What companies are acting shamefully during this pandemic?
Here in Paraguay, anyone who arrives from any trip overseas must isolate themselves for 15 days, in order to prevent any possible transmission. Only people who reside here can get into the country because all borders are closed and we can't leave our house, unless it's urgent, from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Anyone who is caught violating this mandate will face imprisonment or will have to pay a high fine. The owner of a very posh local travel agency just arrived from a trip and still went to work. When some of her employees told her to go home and isolate herself, she decided to fire all of those who dared, telling her that 10 employees in total. People on Twitter shared this story and it went viral, and now she might go to prison or pay a large sum of money not to go. So yeah, we also know which businesses here we're not supporting after everything goes back to normal.
Every boss babe on my newsfeed trying to sell pyramid scheme shit using this virus a reason for needing things.
Spectrum. They will not let employees work remotely even though they can. WTF.
My school district. We are putting together at-home learning assignments for our students with a bulk of it being done online via Google Classroom and other online learning apps like many other closed-down districts. But mine is requiring teachers to come into the building for the regular work day to prepare these lessons when a majority of us could easily work from home. If you want to work from home, then you have to use your sick days. On the first day, about 50 of us were in our poorly ventilated cafeteria right after the recommendation was no groups of 10. There has been poor communication from our district and campus leadership. None of them return phone calls or answer emails, yet the superintendent had time today to send out a weather briefing for our area. Where all other schools announced last week they were closing starting this week, ours waited until Sunday evening. Other schools announced the free meal pickups for kids 18 and under at the same time. Ours didn't start until Wednesday. I could go on, but I feel my blood pressure rising as I'm typing this.
Voyen, for being a biotech company that completely knew what was happening, but ended up creating its own coronavirus cluster by not restricting conference participation. This, Bospace.
My delivery company refuses to stop in-house deliveries of furniture. My boss said, the virus can't live on anything but humans, I shit you not.
Optum Health. They have many employees with the capability to work from home and who do, scheduled, a couple times a month. But they refuse to let anyone do it now, citing potential interruptions to patient care. They are in the fucking healthcare industry, and they don't give a shit.
Any company offering leave contingent on a positive test. There aren't enough tests, they're starting to limit it to critical demographics, if your hospital has them at all. This is encouraging people to go to work sick. According to Starbucks.
TicketMaster. I have tickets to see a major artist in Vegas next month and the show got postponed by the venue. Because it wasn't cancelled, just postponed, they refused to refund me $430 for the tickets. I already cancelled my hotel and flights, and I can't reschedule anything because they don't have the new dates yet. I just want my money back.
Any company that receives bailout money and then turns around and gives executive bonuses. Not just a wall of shame but should be investigated, money taken and possibly jailed.
McDonald's opposing sick leave in the new congressional bill. Link: McDonald's is huge, so I recommend reading the article and looking at the comments etc. Important to note that McDonald's is a complex one. McDonald's has taken some good steps, but it's the owner-operated stores that make up 95% of their locations and make up a significant amount of the food service workforce. I get that McDonald's is trying to protect the smaller owner-operated locations that will have cash flow issues, but I'd like to think that McDonald's corporate could help them secure credit lines to make payroll for sick leave. They're a big company, so I expect them to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, since that's what they seem to expect of their employees. TLDR, some McDonald's might do the right thing, but come on corporate, you gotta reel in these owner-operated locations and help them do what's right. I'd actually like to shine a positive light on Home Depot. They gave all full-time workers 80 hours of sick pay and all part-time workers 40 hours of sick pay regardless of how long they've worked there, and if it's not used by the end of the year they'll get it as a bonus. Home Depot is actually a great company to work for. Emo.
Menards. They have been price gouging needed items during this pandemic, such as face masks, cleaning and disinfectant supplies, and other items. Here in Michigan, the Attorney General sent a cease and desist letter to them yesterday. They have 9 days left to respond to it, and if they don't, they may be facing legal action.
Dave & Buster's. I worked for them. They put out a company-wide email saying we will be receiving 2 weeks of PTO with the caveat that we take a draw on our PTO this year. Cool, not a big deal, but glad to know I won't be unemployed during this crazy time. Yesterday 3/18 at about 2 p.m. they rescinded it. No 2 weeks of PTO, everyone is laid off or furloughed effective immediately. I was on site when the news broke and originally corporate was just going to email the staff or post a message on our internal training site. I said fuck that and spent the next hour or so telling my friends and coworkers we were not going to be covered, we were screwed. I spent that hour trying not to cry uncontrollably between calls, knowing what I was going to have to tell them, that the safety net I told them about not even 72 hours earlier was a lie. I want to be clear on the local level. One, I'm absolutely amazed and respect the hell out of my team and GM. Knowing full well they can get in trouble for it, they nearly emptied the coolers of anything that could perish between now and our tentative reopen date, opposed to throwing it all away per corporate's orders. They coordinated getting food to 2 of our most vulnerable team member. They have said that if you are running low on feed in the next week to contact them and they will help you out. The amount of support they are giving to the team is amazing, but the company is disgusting.
Dillards department store. They won't let employees wear gloves or face masks because it makes customers uncomfortable. Employees can go into quarantine for 2 weeks if they choose to do so, but they do not get paid leave. If you're not feeling well, you do not get paid sick leave. They're asking employees to use vacation time if they have any. Personally, they just fired my last other coworker in my department. There are supposed to be 5 of us, but after firing her, it'll just be me. So, when I said I wanted to take the optional quarantine, my manager asked me if I was self-terminating. That didn't make sense at all. I told her no, but after talking to my boyfriend about everything, he doesn't want me to go back because of how they've treated me and my other coworkers. The job has me miserable and the morale is non-existent. Even before all this was happening, I was looking for another job. And what sucks even more is that I've stayed there for so long simply because it pays better than most other places where I live. I'm not really sure what my plan is anymore. My boyfriend is on a 2 weeks minimum quarantine because he's a bartender at a casino here. We have money saved thankfully, but it's all just kind of stressful.
I eagerly await Nestlé's next move.
This may be more on the side of the stock market crash, but fuck it. Fuck Boeing. They spent $43 billion through 2017-2018 on stock buybacks, helping more than double their share price. Then a bunch of their planes started having mechanical failures, a whole bunch of people could have died, and now they're begging for a bailout. Fuck 'em.
We should have a wall for anti-shame, the ones are trying to make a difference. I am a Canadian in Switzerland and the grocery store across the street has you take numbers to not overcrowd, has lowered the price of basic things, as well as put most of them at the front door to reduce traffic.
Amazon, Whole Foods. They're doing unpaid sick without an actual diagnosis, nearly impossible here in Austin. 2 weeks paid sick time for confirmed diagnosis, and asking well workers to donate PTO to sick workers.
Everyone saying you still have to come into office when it clearly violates social distancing. They're just ruining stuff for everyone. Local credit union CEO refuses work from home because this all blown out of proportion. Tim Hortons for forcing sick employees to work. Link. Also, I don't know if it's Dollarama as a whole or just the one by my house, but the employees didn't have gloves or sanitizer. So, screw the boss, I guess. Walgreens. I work at the busiest pharmacy in my state, no hazard pay, no time off. We start cutting hours tomorrow. No protective gear, no extra sanitation supplies were essential but just expected to work as per usual.
GameStop by all accounts. Also, it's becoming desperately clear that some sort of regulation is needed for companies to keep a reserve of at the very least months' pay for all employees.
Virgin Atlantic requested all workers go 3 months unpaid leave. Richard Branson is a BILLIONARE.
Any stores that impose limits on items like baby wipes and TP, but don't enforce them. That shit is gonna be abused so much unless someone enforces it somehow. Probably already is. Limits to jack shit if they aren't enforced. Take notes, stores.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. I just learned from my cousin today that in order for someone to qualify for the 10 sick days off 2 weeks they're offering, that employee has to have tested positive for the virus or been in contact with someone who has it and placed under mandatory quarantine. The hours taken to recover will be taken out of the employee's sick pay bank. If that employee doesn't have enough sick hours accumulated, O'Reilly will allow the balance to go negative, but they have to pay it back through sick hours accrued in future pay periods. This is from an email to management directly from corporate. This next bit is based on hearsay, but I guess she was also told that O'Reilly has no intention of minimizing store, DC operating hours or shutting down until AutoZone does something first.